Hi, this is Aaron Jerome from Jerome Electronics YouTube channel, and it's time for Vivado VHDL Part 3, starting Vivado /HTML comparator project. So we're actually going to now start a project in Vivado. We won't get as far as coding it, but we'll get a project started. To get into Vivado, you would click on this icon. This happens to be the one for 2023. And when you do, you come up on this screen. What we're going to do is create a project. So you want to click here on Create Project. When you do, this window will open. And this window is just telling you that it's a wizard, and it will help you through that. Then click Next. This window pops up. This window is where you give your project a name. I'm having my students call their first Vivado project, My First Vivado Project. Also, notice while you're here, it's by default suggesting a project location, which is fine with me. I have my students keep theirs here. Or they could, put it on a removable drive or something. This is by default, but we have it create a project subdirectory, and that means that their files will now be kept in C users. Your name, My First Vivado Project. That's the name of the project. Now, a project is a folder that holds all of the components of the project because they have to be together for Vivado to find them, just like projects in any other application. Click Next. The next window that pops up is this one, and it's saying that we are going to start an RTL project. That's the only thing you need to select is the radio button next to that. We're going to start by choosing RTL project. RTL means registered transfer level, in case you're wondering. And then click Next, and this window pops open. This is where we add sources, but we don't really need to. If you previously made resources in other projects that might be useful in this project, you could add them here. But we don't have any previous projects, so this is our first project, so we're just going to go down here. We have to tell it that the target language is VHDL and that the simulator language is also VHDL. Other options are Verilog, and though Verilog is similar, we're going to focus on VHDL. I haven't ever used Verilog, but I understand from what people tell me, once you know VHDL, Verilog is just the other bicycle, and it's not that hard. Okay, so click on Next, and this window opens. This is the window where we add constraints. What are constraints? Well, constraints are used to connect the software ports, that would be the VHDL ports, to the hardware ports. It does some other things, but this is where we do that sometimes. We won't do that here. We'll do that later, but for now, we won't declare any constraints. We're just going to click on Next, and this window opens up. In this window, you see a couple of tabs, and one of those tabs is boards. In my class, we use a board called the Basis 3, and so we need to search for that, and if this is just after you have downloaded Vivado, it probably won't find it. And if it doesn't find it, then you can click on Refresh, and it'll go out into the internet and find it right there. Okay, it might take a minute or two, but it will find it. And then you'll see the Basis 3 in the window down there. And then there's a little status. It looks like it says like a download thing, but what that's doing is giving you an option to install the Basis 3 after you've downloaded it. Click on that, and then Basis 3 should show up. If it's not highlighted or turned blue, you might want to just click right there, and then click Next. The next window that pops open is this summary project. These are all of the decisions that you've made, and you can scan through them really quickly, but we're just going to click Finish. This is the main window, the main console window for Vivado. Some parts of it. We have got the project manager there on the left, and that is a stack of things that we will be doing. So this is kind of a list of tasks, and we're going to start at the top and move toward the bottom. This is the sources window. This is where you gain access to the files that you've made. We haven't got any files in there right now. This is the program window, or the project summary window, where we actually code in VHDL. We'll probably do that next time. This is just the current settings. Next, down at the bottom here, this is where you get messages. It keeps the log, it keeps the messages, error messages, the TCL console. We'll talk about that later. And so if something's going wrong, it'll give you hints and helps down here to debug what you have built. And that's just a closer view of it. Notice that the settings and sources windows both have a way to add sources, and you can choose either one, and there are other ways as well, but right now we're going to need to add a source. So we click on one of those, and then this window comes up, and we click the middle one. Again, remember we had the option to create constraints. We're going to do that later. We'll also create simulation sources later, but right now we're going to create a design source. Click the radio button there, click next. This window opens up, and we are going to create our first file in our project. When you do, this window pops up. Make sure it says VHDL in the upper window. I've got a warning about this. I have been told that, and I've never seen this, but I've been told that you never start Vivado names with a number, and you never use spaces in your file names. I've heard that it crashes the program. It's very hard to debug. I don't know. I've just never done it. I just have been warned. Don't do it. The file name that I'm going to use does not start with a number and does not have spaces. It has underscores. I've told my students, name your first file so that we can, don't get confused. Everybody names their file the same thing. Comparator underscore 1-bit underscore V1. And then click OK. When you do, this window pops up and it actually shows your file that you just made here in the window, and you could create more now if you want, but this is your new source file. We're going to start with just this one, so click finish, and it has to think for a minute, and then this window pops up, and we can use this to define our module. We might use this to put I/O ports in. We're not going to. We're going to code them in as we go, and so it warns us the module definition has not been changed. Are you sure you want to use these values? And just say yes. And then got the design sources window. If we expand it, I'm putting circles where if you have done this along with this video, you should actually see numbers in these locations. These are the numbers. You have just created those sources. And the little pointy, we call them carrots, you can click on those and they will expand the options, and you will be able to see the file that you made there. You would double click on the file to open it. This little icon with the 3 dots, one green one on the top and then 2 gray ones, that means that by default this is currently the home file. It's the one file that you probably would control the other ones through by default, and that can be changed. Since this is the only file, this is the home file. So next what we're going to do is go to this window, and you can see a tab for your file because we just expanded the other window and double clicked on it. So here's the tab for this file. Click on that and you will see and be able to edit your file. This is the file that we made. A couple things we want to do to this. We're going to maximize it by using that, but when I got into this, I thought, man, that text is small. It doesn't look like it here, but it might be on your computer. So if the Vivado text seems too small, here's what you do. You come to the top of the screen and you click on that little gear there, which is the settings gear, kind of a standard. And then this window opens. In this window, you're going to expand the text editor, and then you're going to go to the fonts and colors, which is this window on the right, and then you can change your size and your font in this window. You can also change colors. I suggest my students don't change colors right now because we all want to be the same, and colors do mean something. So after that, click Apply and click OK. All right, back to the editing window. Here's a few things I want to do before next time. And I want to define these two little dashes. These double dashes are called comments. Red words, I have my students write the red words in their logbooks because this is what you review for testing and if you need this information again. Students who've already been programming before might write less because they already know what comments mean, but various different programming languages use different kinds of comments. What that means is that VHDL is going to ignore anything that follows these double dashes. So sometimes we'll add double dashes and sometimes we will delete them. So data that follows double dashes is called user documentation. That's what it's there for. And you can see there's a lot of double dashes on the screen. Vivado is being helpful and giving us lots of places to document our code so that we can, be responsible. The main idea behind documentation is when you get that new position in the company that pays more money, the person that replaces you should be able to go into your files and see exactly what you were doing and what you had in mind and what your plans were. And so documentation is really important. However, we're just going to delete all this for now and put our own documentation in. So to do that, we're going to select and delete lines 1 through 21. When you select them, click at the top, drag to the bottom, and it will turn blue. Some students notice that little item next to number 1 up there, and there's another one next to number 19. And they click on it and say, hey, look, Mr. Jerome, this is a good way to make them disappear. That's not. It's hiding them. It's not deleting them. I guess that's another way to do it, but we're going to delete them for now. Going off to delete them. This is what it should look like after that. Up at the top here is something called a library. Library IEEE is the standard library of functions and tools that might be needed with most Vivado VHDL codes. So these are red words, more words than you need to write down. If I'm going too fast in this video, you can pause and get the words in your logbook if you need to. On line 2 is a library package. It's like a book in a library. A library package holds pre-written routines that are used to save work, and we're going to use some of them. There's a phrase that we use, std_logic, and that is abbreviation of standard logic, and we'll be using that from that library, and otherwise we'd have a lot more coding to do, so that saves us a lot of work. Okay, so we're going to erase lines 3, 4, and 5, but we're going to keep line 6. And when we do keep line 6, we're going to remove the double dash comments from the next line to activate the IEEE.numeric_std.all library package. So here we go. So now we've got the library and 2 library packages and some more comments there. We're going to delete all of these lines. Notice that lines shift up when other lines are deleted. And so here we are with, we're ready to start making an entity and making architecture. And of course, now is a very good time to save your work. This also makes a pretty good template. So if you're making more entities and you're designing more architecture, this is a good template that you could save, rename, and then you don't have to do all that stuff we just did. Okay, so remember to save your work often. This is the end of this video. It hasn't lasted very long. The next Vivado VHDL is going to be part 4, coding the comparator in Vivado/VHDL. We're actually now ready to design the comparator. We'll do that in the next video. All right, this is Aaron Jerome, Jerome Electronics. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.